It's a brand new segment of the show I'm calling Budget Bites. Bites with a Y. Yeah. Don't know if it'll be a thing yet. We'll see. But I think it's an important topic to talk about, particularly at the moment when money is a real issue. But just in general, because food can be expensive, and sometimes food doesn't have to be as expensive as it is. But the important thing is making sure that it's... Well, if you're buying cheap food, it needs to be, decent cheap food. It doesn't want to be cheap and also crap, because then you're not going to want to eat it. So, the theory being, we'll try... I'll talk about food that I've got for less than the standard going rate of food, and I'll tell you if it's any good or not by my estimation. And we're going to start with this stuff. Jim Jams. Big fan of Nutella, this person. And, well, Nutella ain't the cheapest, is it? Particularly if you go for the bigger jars like I do. And I saw this, and it was Sainsbury's, and it was on Nectar price, and I don't think it was that much cheaper, honestly, than Nutella, so we're starting out very well. But it was cheaper, and it was on Nectar price, so it was even cheaper still. So, that's the important part. And it comes in a 350-gram jar, which I'm just trying to think. I think Nutella comes in that as well. But anyway, this is Jim Jams. It's sugar. Oh, it's no added sugar. I thought it was sugar-free. It's not. It's no added sugar. Hazelnut chocolate spread. I will say it's nice. It's the thing with this, and something that I've found with other hazelnut spreads in the past and other chocolate spreads in the past, is that you have to go into it not thinking this is going to be just like Nutella, because it never is. Nutella's got a very unique flavour, and that's, I do love the flavour of Nutella. Or Nutella, as it's apparently properly pronounced. So you've got to go in and think, right, got to go in with an open mind and think it's not going to be just like Nutella, but it might be as good in different ways. And I'm happy to report that this is very good indeed. Bit more of a cocoa flavour, so it's not quite got that Nutella taste, as I've just said. More like cocoa, but it's got that nice spreadability, and it's got that particular sweetness. And it tastes really good. I've just had it in a sandwich. I've also tried I tried a mug cake with it in, and it was pretty good. Yeah, I'm quite happy with Jim Jams. It's also got an entertaining name. It's got stuff in it called maltitol or maltitol, which I've never heard of. It's a sweetener. I'm assuming it's a bit like xylitol or similar. And it doesn't actually... presumably it's got some degree of sugar in it from the various ingredients. Otherwise it would say sugar-free, but... it contains naturally occurring sugars. So it's not completely without sugar. In fact, there's 8.7 grams of it. So I'm not going to be out here and saying, it's the healthiest thing ever. But it might be a bit healthier than Nutella. I don't have any Nutella to hand to compare the values. And in fact, it doesn't have the red and green, the traffic light thing on it. So I can't tell you what nutritional value is. But, well, it's... a Nutella-like. I think it's quite good. If you manage to find it for a decent price, then Jim Jams recommended. And while we're on the topic, and since it was in the same section of the shop, I thought I might as well mention this. So this is just some honey. Very innocuous honey. Now, think of honey. It's usually about £3 for a jar of this size. In fact, sometimes even smaller than that. Your Rouse honey, it's maybe about this big, and you can get the squeezy bottles a bit smaller. About £3, sometimes even more. And you go for the locally produced honey, or the more expensive stuff. Some of it gets on for like £15 for a jar, and I understand. It's locally produced, it's small batches, it's little businesses who are just trying to make a living, and it's very helpful for local ecosystems to get locally produced honey. So I can understand the need and the desire to go for locally produced stuff, but when you're on a tight budget, that's not really an option. So I've always been looking for cheaper honey, and this was one of them. It's one of these things that supermarkets are doing nowadays, of having a weird brand name to make it look like it's some sort of small thing, but really it's just the supermarket's cheap brand. Tesco's do it as well with the Stockwell stuff. So this is Hubbard's Food Store, again from Sainsbury's. I'm leading up to it, but the really important part of this is that it costs 75p for a jar of honey, and that's just I can't get my head around it. 75p. I'm so excited by this. Now, it's important to mention that it's as unlocal as you can get. It's it says here, packed in the UK, in Belfast, using honey from China. So somehow, honey that's transported halfway across the world is cheaper than honey that's produced just up the road. It doesn't make any sense, does it? Also, it's all over the jar, so I keep having to lick my fingers. But the point is, 75p for a jar of honey. That is a ridiculously good value. And you know what? It's really nice honey. You can't really go wrong with honey, I don't think, but this stuff is very nice indeed. It works really well. I've been using it for baking, and it works a treat. It's just honey. It's just honey, you know. You get honey, you expect honey, and that's what you get. It's nothing special. It's just honey. And if you're looking for a nice jar of honey for very cheap, then that's the one to go for. I don't know what the other supermarkets have, but like I said, I've never seen a honey so cheap in recent years, so definitely be getting that again. Anyway, that was Budget Bites, number one in what may well be a recurring thing, or maybe not. Hope that's been informative and useful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.